a Space Echo and 2 plugins, and they're all going to battle. We're trying to answer the question, is the old hardware unit really superior to a modern plug-in emulation that's like a fraction of the cost? So can you do the same thing but cheap? We're going to answer that today. And before I get into specifics, the one thing I need to get out of the way is I tried to make this comparison as objective as possible, but it's not really 100% objective because the 2 plugins are going to be modeled after different physical units than the one I had. So I'm sure those each had their own quirks to them. But with that out of the way, here are some general observations. Out of the 3 of them, when you push them really hard into self-oscillation, I still think the hardware got kind of the wildest and the most unpredictable. The other ones do have a grit to them. You can get them to break up for sure, but maybe it was just because of the fact that when you're dealing with hardware, it's easier to control 2 things at once, whereas in software, you're usually just clicking with the mouse. But here's a clip of them next to each other so you can hear what I'm talking about. So the other thing you could maybe hear in that clip was that the UAD Galaxy Tape plugin, it broke up a little bit more readily, but to my ear, the distortion that it generates is like kind of flatter than the hardware. Whereas the AudioThing Outer Space plugin, it was initially harder to get it to break up. I did find some ways to do that. That'll show you in a second, but just kind of out of the box, opening it up, it was a little bit of a cleaner vibe than the hardware. Whereas I think the UAD people wanted to build some more of the dirt into it right from the jump. But like I said, it's different. It doesn't have the same kind of depth to it that the hardware has. But that being said, let me show you some tricks that I found to get the AudioThing to break up in a nice kind of Space Echo-y sort of way. All right, so to get this thing to be a little bit more feisty, here's a couple settings for you, right? As you can see, if I push the intensity up, we get some of the vibe, but it's just not as dirty for whatever reason. Whoops. Yeah, see, it'll still distort, but it's just not, it's missing something. It's missing some of the grit. So the first thing is turn the preamp on. And I tried putting on oversampling. Let's just do it 4 times. That should be plenty. All right. And then the other thing is there's this tape quality thing. I put it on old. I figured that would sound kind of shittier. Let's see here. That's getting some of the bite at the front of stuff that I want. So cool. The other thing is turning up the noise level, and then down here in these tape settings, the pre-emphasis. Watch this. Maybe some gain too. That's getting a little more meaty to me. Turn up some of the wow and flutter too. Whoop. Sorry, it's a demo. Haven't actually bought this yet. Again, it's not quite the same as the hardware still, but that's much closer to how the actual unit was behaving. So do with that information what you will. So the other big difference that I think is worth noting is if I put both of these guys on reverb only, you can hear it. For whatever reason, this Galaxy Tape Echo has a much springier sounding reverb. Like here's the audio thing. Right? Versus this. Let's try to gain match too. Go back. I will go back and do that again. So here we go. Hear it? One more time. Audio thing. For whatever reason, this one, the spring reverb just sounds wetter and more springy, frankly, which is what I'm looking for in a spring. So the probably the last thing I would say, just comparing all these things, as you can see, if you hit this tab down here on the audio thing, it just opens up all these other controls. And overall, I think these guys just took more kind of creative, not creative liberties, because it is a pretty good Space Echo emulation, but you can just do more stuff with this thing. There's more stuff you could automate. Like a cool feature that I really liked is you can actually change the timing of individual delay heads. So you can move just this middle one. I think stuff like that is really cool. And they built in a couple nice features, like you can stereoize things. Like that's nice. Oh, I gotta turn it on. There we go. That one feature is kind of worth its weight in gold because I've been to enough studios where they have 2 Space Echoes so they could do stereo stuff. So that's pretty cool. Just the fact that they have stereo built into it. And then again, like the tape controls are great. Having control over each head, both in terms of the timing over here and as well as volume and panning, that's pretty rad. So what's this? I guess it's vari speed control too. Yeah, this is stuff like this is cool because you just have a lot of control over small aspects of timing. And you can automate all this stuff if you really want to get your hands dirty. So that is a big deal. Just the fact that all this stuff is built in. So all that considered, final thoughts. Let's talk about the price and which one is probably the best, whatever. They're all a little different. That's like kind of the short answer. There's no like best option, but you have to consider the price and what would be the best for you and where you're at. So starting with the hardware, kind of no matter what you do, you're going to be spending like $1,500 to $2,000. And then possibly dealing with the expense and headache of maintaining and the upkeep of vintage equipment. I know one friend who saved his money, bought the hardware, and sold it because he didn't get a good one. It just wasn't, it always had a problem. It would break a lot. A better option if you want that sound in hardware, there's that company, I think they're called EchoFix. They sell a lot of parts for Space Echoes, but they also make a modern recreation of it. So you could at least get something that like was built fairly recently. It wasn't like sitting in some garage for 30 years or whatever. So that's the hardware, right? You have kind of, let's call it $2,000, kind of no matter what you do, if you want to get something in decent shape. And then you do want to sign up for that maintenance plan. Next, we have the UAD one, which I believe goes for about $200. I think I just looked, and I think it was on sale at the moment for like $99. So if you're gonna get UAD, I would definitely try to get that guy on sale. But going with the full price, let's say it's $200. Plus, if you don't already have a UAD card or interface, I have a UAD card, so I can run these plugins. But if you don't have that, you actually have to buy the chips that let you run their plugins. So there's that to consider. That might be an extra layer of cost for you. And then finally, you have the AudioThing, which is $69, I believe. I think that's the best one in terms of bang for your buck. I think it gets closer to the vibe of the Space Echo in ways that matter to me. Some people like the UAD one better because, like I said, I said the reverb thing might be like a big deal for some people, but my thinking is I like having the control over all those different parameters and being able to tweak stuff to get it to work in a very specific way if I'm going to go in the box with the sound. And then if I need a springier sounding reverb, I have other things that can accomplish that. So for me, I like the audio thing. It's kind of amazing. It's as cheap as it is, frankly. They could probably charge double that and get away with it. And of course, you don't need any hardware. You can just run it natively. You don't need to buy a card or anything like that. So that's my feelings. Like for me, I think that's where the best bang for your buck actually is. So that being said, if you want to hear more examples of the two plugins or the three things, yeah, two plugins and then the hardware next to each other, that's just my last video. I did an extended comparison of a guitar soloed as well as in the mix with each plugin as well as hardware, and then a bunch of different settings like reverb only, just some slapback delay, heavy modulation, all that kind of stuff. So you can hear that, just uninterrupted. I'll link to it in the description below as well. So that would be the place to do that if you really want to just listen and not, have my commentary on things. If you do want my commentary on things, which hopefully is valuable, of course you can subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff helps. Leave me questions or comments you have down below. But also in the description down below, you will find a link to my Patreon where I go more in depth with some of these things. It helps support the free stuff on the YouTube. I drop a lot of free sample packs there. Like I have 2 that I'm editing right now that are going to be they're going to be for free for Patreon subscribers, and then a couple bucks on glitchmagic.com. So anyway, that's all I got for you. Until the next one, peace.